excited for this. I think you guys are excited too. So, um, I have just been so happy to see everybody's enthusiasm about this. And you guys have shown me that you are really passionate for what you are doing and that you really know that you are capable of growing your business and that you are capable of making more money, which we're all entrepreneurs, we're all sellers, we're all here to make money. So I really want you to get into that mindset that you are here to sell things, that that's your job. And I want you to stop listening to people who are telling you that the market is saturated. I want you to stop listening to people who are telling you to lower your prices, that the only way you can sell things is to sell them at rock bottom prices, because it's absolutely not true. And that is completely what inspired this webinar to begin with. Um, I originally wanted to do this webinar. I got the idea to do a webinar on pricing. And so, I was just going to do it about pricing. Then I really got to thinking about it. And I wanted to break it up into 3 parts because you have to really talk about sourcing and listing as well. Because if those 2 things are not correct, your pricing isn't going to matter. So that's why this is broken up into those 3 parts. So tonight and tomorrow night, we are going to talk about sourcing. We're going to go really in depth and cover some great topics about what you need to be sourcing to kind of achieve the profit margins that you want. And then, so the webinar for tonight and tomorrow night has the same outline. It may go slightly different just depending on what questions people ask. So you are more than welcome to attend tonight, tomorrow night, both nights, whichever you prefer. I would love to have you both nights. And then next week, we will go into listings and really showcasing your listings and how you can tweak them to add value to your inventory, because how you showcase items in your listings determines how much people are going to be willing to pay for them. And then we are going to talk about pricing, which is, I think, a huge dilemma for many people. It seems like people don't really know how to price things. They don't want to be too high. They don't want to be too low. But I really want to help you guys be more comfortable and more confident about what you are doing, more confident about what you're buying and how you are pricing items. And I want you to really know that you can get good profits for the items that you're buying. You don't have to list things at $10. You can list things at 25, 35, 45. I want to take your bread and butter items that we call them from selling at $10. I want your bread and butter price point to be $25 to $30. And then anything above that is going to be higher end. Let's see. I just want to go through the chat and say hello to people. Hello to Kimberly. Let's see. I think Fire Witch said her name somewhere. Trying to find it. Hello, Angelita. Hello to Sharon, Julianne, Lori, Melissa, Michelle, Sharon, Larissa. Wow, lots of you guys from all over the country. That is amazing. Leanne's in Columbia. I drove through there this past weekend. Hi, Heidi. Lisa. Okay, Fire Witch's name is Lisa. Okay. I love your name, though. That's awesome. All right. So I have a few different points that I want to talk about tonight on sourcing. I have a ton of notes that I've been hold on one second. Someone is trying to get in here. Let me make sure that she has the links to. Let's see. let's see, let me reset this for her really quick so she can watch. If you guys have any opening questions, feel free to put them into the chat. And then if you have any questions while I'm talking, feel free to put them in the chat as well. Let's see. Just want to make sure that everybody who got access to this is able to watch it tonight. Alrighty, so let's move on. Lori says things are competitive here. Sourcing is challenging. I agree. Sourcing is getting a little bit more challenging. When I was in Florida, it was extremely bad in Florida. The competition there is extraordinary. You have people who are reselling. You also have people who are selling things at flea markets. And, this is how people feed their families. So people are getting pretty relentless with the sourcing. But I assure you, there are alternative ways of sourcing that we are going to talk about here tonight. And I want you guys to really start thinking outside of the box, outside of thrift stores. Your best place to get stuff is still going to be at thrift stores, but I want to share with you tonight some other places that you can actually find inventory. So I have a ton of notes saved that I want to talk about tonight. I've just been adding and adding and adding stuff since I started thinking about this. So, but the first thing I want to talk about is I want you to get to a point where you are comfortable going sourcing. So if there's anyone in here tonight who has never gone sourcing before, I want you to tell me in the chat. Because it's when you first start sourcing, when you first start going out to thrift stores, it's going to be weird. I remember when I first started going out to thrift stores and looking for stuff, it was kind of stressful. It was kind of weird. Because I had never really gone to thrift stores. I had never gone to the Goodwill outlet. This is just not something that I did. But when I went to college, there were many more thrift stores. I went to the University of South Carolina in Columbia, and there were just a lot more thrift stores there than there were in Florence. We only had a couple here at the time. So once I started going to school there and seeing all these thrift stores, and that's how I really started to get comfortable thrift shopping. I was mostly shopping for myself. So it was, I didn't really start off shopping for things to resell. And then one day, this girl that I worked with posted on Facebook that Goodwill had all of these Target bathing suit pieces, brand new bathing suits that they were selling for $1 a piece. And I initially went over there to get some stuff for myself. And then it occurred to me, oh, well, these are $1. I could sell these. I had just started on Poshmark. I had been selling jewelry on Etsy. And then my mom saw Poshmark on, I think it was Good Morning America or something. And she told me to watch it. And then I downloaded the app and I went back to my dorm. It wasn't a dorm room. It was a townhouse. And I mainly started it as an experiment, and I just kind of pulled something out of my closet that still had the tag on it, and I listed it, and it sold overnight. So I kind of stumbled into all of this. I never really started by setting out to be a reseller. I just really enjoyed having the extra money in my Poshmark because I treated it kind of like a savings account. I just really liked knowing that it was there. Let's see. Sharon, I do sell mystery boxes, yes. And that's only in one of my Poshmark closets. I have multiple Poshmark closets. Let's see. What's the best way to get info on a product besides Google? Found a great pair of wooden clogs today with size and place made on the bottom, but no info on the inside of the shoe. Any ideas? One thing I like to do other than Google is I actually like to go onto the eBay app. The reason for that being, I don't particularly like selling on eBay that much, but eBay has been around a long time and they have millions of items listed on eBay. So when you search for something on eBay, it's more likely to pop up and it's much easier to search for things on eBay than it is on Poshmark. Poshmark is a great platform to sell on, but in terms of searching for stuff that has sold in the past, it's a little bit difficult to find things on. So the item is usually more likely to be on eBay just because of the volume that eBay has. Poshmark is still a relatively new company, so they're not going to have as many solds on things as eBay does. So I like to go and type keywords into eBay to see if I can get it to come up. You can maybe guess the brand, like a lot of clog brands are Dansko, Box, Sanitas. You can kind of type those in and see if you can find anything similar that will come up. My Goodwill figured out that I resell and they look at me dirty like I'm doing something wrong. Okay, I want to talk about this too, because this is kind of what my video last night was about that I posted on YouTube. I want you guys to stop feeling bad for what you're doing. I want you to stop feeling guilty. I want you to stop feeling like you're doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. You're an entrepreneur, you're a seller, you sell things. It's your job to sell things and make money. And I want you to not even look at the Goodwill people, okay? If you are not doing anything wrong as long as you go into Goodwill, pick out your merchandise, pay what they ask for it, and leave with your receipt. As long as you're not taking merchandise from the store, you are doing nothing wrong. And I try to be very low key when I'm in a thrift store. I don't really chit chat with people. I don't really talk to people when I'm working in the thrift store. I just am in my little zone and I don't really tell people what I'm doing. I think they can kind of figure out what I'm doing just from the stuff that I'm buying and the fact that I go in there every day. But they never look at me like I'm doing something wrong. I used to shop at this little local thrift store, and they would love when I came in there because they were a locally owned store. Most people came in there and spent $4 to $5, whereas I would come in there and I would spend like $50, $60, $70. You know, I was spending way more than the average person was, and I would go in there every week. So, you know, if your Goodwill people are kind of giving you side eyes, just be nice to them. That's probably the best advice I can give you. I'm super nice to the employees at the Goodwills here, and they know me by name, and they're all really nice people. And that's going to differ depending on where you are. Like, I went to a Salvation Army in Orlando, and I was just minding my business and walking around, and I started looking at the clothes that were on the rack beside the fitting rooms when people had tried them on and put them back up there. And this lady yelled at me for looking at the clothes that were on the rack beside the fitting room. And there was no sign or anything saying that you couldn't do that. I don't really get why you can't do that because people obviously didn't want them, so they're still for sale. But overall, just be nice to the thrift store employees, especially if it's somewhere you go regularly. They will definitely appreciate your kindness towards them. Let's see. Goodwills here are terrible. Well, we're going to talk about places to source other than Goodwills tonight. Joyce has never sourced before. That's awesome. Let's see. We're gonna work on the sourcing tonight, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to really like prioritize this. How long do you have to be on Poshmark before you can have it? You just need to email them. There's not like a set amount of time that you have to be on Poshmark, you just need to email them with a reason of why you want to have more than one closet. Hi, Lexi. Welcome in. Let's see. Same as selling used cars. Yes, absolutely. I can't get over not being embarrassed about using my phone in a thrift store. It's like I would rather someone not know I resell. And I completely understand that. I feel like we all feel this way. If you're standing there trying to look up stuff and people are staring at you and the employees are staring at you, I completely get it. I am super awkward, and you want to be discreet about it. You don't want to be blocking people's way. Like, there's this guy who goes to my Goodwill, and he obviously sells books because he's always at the books, but he takes his shopping cart and he blocks like 2 different aisles off with his shopping cart where he's stacking his books in the shopping cart. Like, you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that way. So as long as you're discreet about it, I usually try to go and find a place that's either out of the way, or another thing I do is I get all my stuff and I have it in my cart, and I will literally go in the fitting room to go through it. I take my cart, push it in the fitting room, and go through my stuff in the fitting room so that people are not staring at me. Because I usually have a lot of stuff. And while I'm doing that, I'll take it off the hangers, like the stuff that I'm buying, I'll take it off the hangers for the cashier. If I want to look up anything, I'll look it up. Like if it's a brand that I don't typically sell or something I've never seen before, I'll go in the fitting room and shut the door and look stuff up. Let's see. They did figure it out. One lady got really snide about it. I don't talk to people there. I don't know why. One girl doesn't, and she's nice. I like when she's there. Yes. Okay. So I have actually stopped going to one of my local thrift stores because there was a lady that worked there, and she was so rude. Just really, really a rude person. And the thrift store used to have clothes that they would sell for $1. Like their older inventory, they would have the different color barbs. And every week, whatever hadn't sold would be marked down to $1. And they stopped doing this, which ultimately was a blessing in disguise because it led me to figuring out, oh, I can make way more money on the stuff that's in the rest of the thrift store versus this little dollar rack that I'm focusing on. But anyway, so they stopped doing the dollar clothes, and then I went back in there one day, and I was only buying a few things, but I had this pair of Vineyard Vines pajama pants, okay? They were just like women's pink pajama pants. And I take them up to the register, and she looks at me and she goes, these are $4. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, because look at this, it has a whale on it, so it's expensive. And just kept going on and on about these pajama pants. And it was just really unnecessary because I'm pretty sure she knew that I was selling stuff just because I went in there so much. But just her attitude was really unnecessary. And then a couple days later, I was in Goodwill, and there was a person in the Goodwill talking about the lady from the other thrift store because she had been so rude to them as well. So I stopped going there because of this, because I do well at Goodwill, and I didn't need the stress of going in there and having to deal with this lady. So I still go in there periodically. I don't think she works there anymore. The fact that other people were talking about her at other thrift stores is really, really bad. Let's see. Fill your cart, go off to a secluded corner, check prices, put the items you don't want back on the racks. Yeah, absolutely. I just try to stay out of the way. Obviously, I'm not going to be like the guy holding up the entire store. How do you know what to resell from your own closet, and how can you replenish it by knowing what to buy so you aren't left with dead stock? Okay, so I'm assuming by your own closet, you mean like your own items. When I first started, that's really all I had was my own closet. And we're about to go into like key items that you need to be sourcing that somebody said the video stopped. Was this in Orlando? You guys can still see me, right? Just want to make sure. Let me look at this. We're on YouTube. Still showing me on YouTube, so I think I'm okay. But just go through your closet and pick out things that are in good condition. You know what you paid for things, so you obviously know the retail prices of them. So, if you have stuff with tags still on it, definitely go through your closet and just pick out a few items. And it's going to be a lot of trial and error with stuff from your own closet. So, don't be too hard on yourself trying to like put pressure on yourself trying to pick out stuff, especially if it's from your closet and you're not spending money on it. My Goodwill is not cheap. Shoes are $20 sometimes, and people of middle to upper class shop there, and it has been considered cool in my area. Yeah, so some Goodwills are like that. In Florida, it was terrible. They wanted $20 to $30 for Miss Me jeans and tops, like polo shirts were like $13. It was crazy. There are folks out there that will buy anything. I've been selling over 20 years and sold some pretty crazy stuff. Yes, I have sold stuff with no brands. I've sold stuff vintage. If you have something unique, list it, because people look specifically for things that they cannot go to a store and buy. Yeah, Tara, so just start picking stuff from your closet and listing it. That's how you learn, really. It's how you find your niche in selling. You're going to have things that will sell better for you and some things that won't sell as great for you, and it's just part of the business. All right, so I want to start on my first point, which is how often you should source. I get asked this a lot, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I try to go to Goodwill at least every day during the week. Even if I'm just stopping in for 15 to 30 minutes to check the new racks and I usually check the new racks and I'll check the jeans, bare minimum. If that's all I have time to look at, that's what I go and I look at. I have 2 Goodwills here, so I try to, make a point to stop in. I don't go first thing in the morning. If you go first thing in the morning, usually they don't have new stuff out yet. Let's see. I'm in Florida and prices are too high for me, but I do find stuff they miss. Yeah, you have to look for stuff they miss in Florida, or it's pretty crazy. But anyway, so to build your inventory, you have to go sourcing as often as you can, because sometimes I go in there and I leave with bags and bags of stuff. Sometimes I go in there and I leave with nothing. Sometimes I find 1 or 2 things. Like yesterday, I went into a store and I found this soft surroundings top. It's like a chambray leopard print top. It's really cute, kind of like a washed out gray leopard print. And I found a Vanessa Virginia top. Should get around like 30-ish for both. So I bought them and I left. That's all I found. But I do go as often as I can. I take opportunities to source stuff as often as I can. You have to do that to build your inventory. You also need to be doing that if you are new to sourcing, to get comfortable with sourcing. You're not going to learn how to find stuff sitting in your house. Like, even if you can't buy anything that day, go out to the thrift store and go through the racks and get used to going through the racks. And it's going to take you longer if you're first starting out, but as you keep going, you'll get faster at it. People keep talking about new racks, but I'm not seeing anything like that at my Goodwill. Do you mean the racks that they are using to put things away? So at my Goodwills, The new racks are usually in the middle of the store. They're freestanding racks on wheels, like a garment rack. So they're much taller than the regular racks that they have the clothes hanging on. In Florida, they would be kind of like randomly scattered throughout the store, but they would still have them. Like you're saying, the racks they use to put things away, I think that might be your new racks. So they're not putting, like they're putting things on the shelves and on the racks on the floor. So like whatever, this is pretty obnoxious, but whenever they bring out new stuff at my Goodwills, they have this really loud bell that they ring and scream new treasures. And they're either usually bringing out a rack or a buggy of stuff. I'm from the South. We call them buggies, a shopping cart of stuff. But definitely pay attention to when they're bringing out new stuff from the back. That's the stuff that you want to be going through because people will pick it over very, very quickly. I've got to get a humidifier for my house. It is so dry in my house right now, and I didn't realize that until I started talking in training I did before this. So sorry for the water, but it's either that or I go into a coughing fit. Okay, anyway, you want to be going sourcing as often as you can. During the weeks, you want to be going to the thrift stores. On the weekends, I like to go to places like church sales and yard sales and flea markets. That's when those things are open, the flea markets, the yard sales, things like that. So on weekends, I like to prioritize those. I have gone to thrift stores on weekends before. I don't really find as much on the weekends there. So, I like to go to the little local sales versus the thrift stores on the weekends because I usually find more stuff there. Also, our Goodwill outlets here do 50% off sales on Sundays. It's all day on Sundays. So, that's when I like to go there as well. No worries, I'm eating out of an Edie's bucket at the moment. The Edie's ice cream sounds amazing. That sounds really great. I love reading all of your comments. It's amazing. I have 27 people watching right now. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I want you guys to start going sourcing as often as you can. And I don't want you to go and like blow your budget or anything like that, but just get used to going to the thrift stores. So that's the first point I want to talk about is that you need to be going sourcing as often as you can. Now we're going to get into what you need to be sourcing to get the most profit for. Because there are certain items that you need to be sourcing. And I have always thought about it this way versus thinking about it in terms of brands. Because like yesterday I went to Goodwill. They had this weird Lilly Pulitzer cardigan sweater. It was Lilly Pulitzer, but it was really small. And it was like a shrug, if you know what a shrug is. And it's just not something that I felt like would sell. So I left it. Even though it was Lilly Pulitzer, you've got to get out of the mindset of thinking that you can buy something just because of the brand it is, or that you have to buy something because it's a name brand. So, like I said before, the first thing that I check if I have limited time is jeans. Jeans are going to be one of the items that you can buy that will sell consistently and that will sell for the most profit. So I try to check the jeans racks every single day because usually you can get at least $25 for a good pair of jeans. And that's low end. Like that's like American Eagle. And yes, you still want to be getting brands like American Eagle because people are loyal to those brands. And American Eagle jeans retail for like $70 to $80. So keep that in mind. when you're looking at jeans. I'm not saying go out and, spend a ton of money on American Eagle jeans. But if you find them at the Goodwill outlet, I recommend that you pick them up because they're in good shape. You could easily get at least $25 for them. So top jeans, let's see. When should you drop prices if the item isn't selling? You can do that one of several ways. You can drop prices weekly. Like you can go through, you can drop prices on your items weekly. I personally prefer to use offer to likers versus dropping the price publicly. If you have something that is getting no activity and your gut is telling you that you've priced it too high, that is when you want to lower the price publicly. But I prefer to share the item a few times and get some new likers on it and then send out offers to likers over dropping the price publicly. And I do offers to likers pretty much every day. Let's see. Top jeans. Okay, so jeans that I like to find, and I usually pay on average like $4 to $6 for a pair of jeans. Silver, men's and women's jeans. If they are women's, make sure they are dark wash. And the embellished ones, like the more rodeo looking ones, tend to do better. Miss Me jeans are still going for crazy prices, and I've been finding more of those lately at the thrift stores. BKE buckle jeans, those do really well. Page jeans, Pilcrow in the letterpress, I find those quite frequently. Vintage Levi's, like the high-waisted mom jeans, as they call them. Especially lighter wash, acid wash. The vintage high-waisted jeans are really big right now, really trending. You want to look for those because people want those jeans that have the giant tabs on the back of them that say Levi's, and then the Lees are really popular. If they have Tommy Hilfiger on the back of them, big giant logo, people like those too. I'm trying to think of other vintage. Calvin Klein vintage do really well. I'm trying to think. And then you have your mall brands like American Eagle. Sometimes I'll pick up White House Black Market jeans if they have really ornate details on them. Sometimes they'll have lace on them, flowers, embellishments, things like that. Tara says, AE has sold for me, but the kids lowball me for $10 to $15. Yeah, you'll get that because American Eagle are popular among teenagers. That's what I wore when I was in high school. But I knew they would sell because I liked knowing what my size was in American Eagle. So, people know what their size is and people can just order them. People really love the American Eagle artist jeans. Those are usually the ones that will sell for the most money. And then if you can find the high-waisted jeggings, those do really well too. The other ones I like to find at the Goodwill outlet, Hollister, Abercrombie, Banana Republic, Loft. Trying to think. But I love finding the vintage jeans. If you can find the vintage jeans that are high-waisted, you can get $50, $60 for those. Cut from the cloth is good. I'm kind of picky on those. I will usually get them if they are dark wash and skinny. Hudson jeans are also kind of hit or miss. The Hudson jeans that I found are usually like boot cut and lighter wash. So I'm pretty picky about those as well. Express, yes. If you can find Express Those are the ones that you want to try to look for at the Goodwill outlet. I probably wouldn't pay above $3 for Express. But Express is one of those brands that has a pretty loyal following as well. Express has very good clothing. It's a little on the expensive side for what it is at the mall, so it will sell used. Not so much with boot and straight cut. Right. So when I look for jeans, I try to look for dark wash and skinny, or flare, like bell bottom flare, not like boot cut flare, but like bell bottom flare. Those are super popular for fall right now. Lauren jeans. You mean Ralph Lauren jeans? But yeah, so when I'm looking for jeans, I tend to look for dark wash unless they are vintage. If they are vintage, the lighter acid washes tend to do better. But that's so, yes, Ralph Lauren jeans. I have sold a couple pair of vintage Ralph Lauren. I've actually been picking up more Ralph Lauren stuff. I found this really gorgeous Ralph Lauren coat at Goodwill a couple days ago. And I got it because it looks a lot like a barber jacket, like a military field jacket. It's gorgeous. True Religion, yes. I've been finding more and more True Religion at my Goodwills lately. I'm not sure why, but I have sold a few pairs of them, especially the men's True Religion. Bigger sizes will tend to do better. I also sold a pair of True Religion joggers that had a stain on them that I missed, and they still sold. But yeah, so jeans are my number one thing that you need to be sourcing, hands down. Have you noticed a downtrend in Rae Dunn and Lululemon, or is it just me? Rae Dunn, yes. Lululemon, it will depend on what the item is. The Swiftly tops do really well, and women's, they will sell overnight. The Wonder Unders will sell overnight. Like the leggings tend to do better. But like I have a Lululemon jacket right now that I've had for a long time, and there's no interest in it. So, definitely get picky with what you are buying, especially if you are, spending a significant amount on it, like $4 or $5. Be very, very picky. So the next thing I want to talk about are shoes. Shoes are almost as important as jeans, if not as important as jeans. Jeans and shoes are going to be two things that will sell consistently for you year round at good profits if you can find shoes in good condition. So here, I don't find that many shoes in good condition. But there are some people that I know who are sellers, and they find a ton of shoes in good condition. So, it's definitely going to depend on your area. But if you have access to shoes that are in good condition, you really need to put your focus on shoes because they will sell quickly. They will sell for the profit margins that you want. And that's really what, my focus is on teaching you tonight is there are certain categories that sell for higher profit margins than others. I'm going through these things. So I want to tell you, like tops, usually tops are not going to fetch you as much of a profit as these things that I'm talking about, unless they are like Anthropologie or Lily or, a higher end brand like Tory Burch. But if you just have a regular top that's a mall brand, it's usually not going to fetch you as much profit as jeans, shoes, and the rest of the things I'm going to talk about. Most popular shoe sizes. I don't leave things because of the size. So, it's very rare that I'll leave something because of the size. Like I wear a size like 5.5 shoe So, I am grateful to the people who have used size 5.5 shoes. Bigger sizes, I'm sure, are also grateful because they're more difficult to find. Yes, church thrift stores, church sales are great places to find things. Favorite shoe brands? Dansko's. Dansko, I find a lot of Danskos here, and they tend to sell for really good prices, especially they are patent leather. They have patterns on them. I found this weird pair a while back that were, I think they were called vegan Danskos, and those went really quickly. I found a denim pair that I sold for $50. So those weren't even leather, and they sold for $50. Um, Other shoe brands, Steve Madden. Steve Madden is very popular among the fashion bloggers. So, and it's very expensive. So whenever I find Steve Madden, I try to pick those up. I just picked up a pair of, they're like combat looking boots by Steve Madden, and they're gorgeous. Um, Other clog brands like Bach and Sanitas, anything leather like that will do really well. Any boots that are leather will do really well. Clark's do really, really well. I had no idea how much Clark's cost until I was scrolling through the TV one day and I came across QVC and they had a Clark's QVC show on where they were selling these shoes. And I turned it on and I could not believe the retail prices on these shoes. So definitely started picking up the Clark shoes when I found them. The boots sell for more, obviously, but people love their Clark shoes. Definitely pick them up when you find them. Most of them look like your just basic shoes, but people will pay good money for them. Obviously, your sneakers like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, things like that. If you can find those in good condition, it's rare that I find those in good condition. Sneakers are usually pretty worn out. Jessica Simpson shoes tend to do pretty well. I found Kate Spade shoes before at Ross. That's another place I like to look for stuff. Are places like Ross and Burlington. They just recently opened a Burlington here, and I love going in there. I find all kinds of things in there, especially if you look at the clearance stuff. My Goodwill has almost brand new shoes, $15 to $20. I've removed scuffs, etc. listing. So your Goodwill charges $15 to $20 for shoes. That's pretty crazy. That's kind of how it was in Florida, though. The next thing I want to talk about sourcing is dresses. So this is kind of me making my way around the thrift store. I like to go to the jeans, new racks, then jeans. Then I'll go to the men's stuff. I like to go through the men's dress shirts just to see what's there. Then I go to the dresses. Dresses are obviously going to get you more money than a top or a pair of dress pants, just because a dress is a complete outfit, and that is sort of the audience that you want to be attracting, is the workwear audience, because these people are working, they have money, they are looking for quality discounted clothing that they can wear to work. So these types of things will sell consistently as well. Like office wear is a great niche to go into. People are constantly looking for things to wear to work. That's why I like to find, career style dresses. They will sell very consistently. Leanne, White Mountain, I've sold a couple White Mountain things. As long as they're leather, I would get them, yes. But dresses are really good to pick up depending on your cost for them. So here, I usually pay around $5 for them. And I look for dresses I'm in the South, so I find a lot of Lily dresses, Vineyard Vines. If I find LuLaRoe dresses in plus sizes, I will pick them up. A lot of plus size brands will sell regardless of what brand they are. So if you find plus size dresses that are in good condition, I usually pick those up regardless of the brand. I find a lot of them like new with tags. So I'll pick those up. I don't really focus on the brands on those too much. But definitely, go through the dresses in your thrift store and look for good brands, like quality brands, like Calvin Klein. Banana Republic is another popular one. White House Black Market. These brands have really loyal following of people who know their sizes in those brands, and they will sell consistently. My best sales were a leather jacket, an estate sale fur coat, and a tan leather large Coach bag. Yes, anything made of real material will sell very well because people know it's great quality. Like real leather sells very quickly. Is Vera Bradley still selling, and what do you list those at? I think I may have mine listed too high. They aren't moving. I feel like Vera Bradley has really gone downhill a little bit. I wouldn't pay too much for them. Like I picked up a couple wallets the other day because they were 99 cents, but I definitely would not spend too much money on Vera Bradley. The exception to that is Vera Bradley has a collection that she did for Disney that is a Disney Parks collection. So it was only sold in the Disney parks. So if you find those are worth amazing, amazing profits. So definitely pick up the Disney Vera Bradley if you find it. If you can find Vera Bradley in good condition, I probably wouldn't pay more than $3 for it. It's not as popular as it once was. It has a good following, but I don't know if it's good enough to sell consistently. What's too much? I would cap it out at $3. Unless it's new with tags, then I might go to like $5 or $6. Clark shoe soles deteriorate and must be checked. Yes, this also happens with Danskos. So you want to check the soles on these clog style shoes because they will literally crumble in your hands. Yeah, don't overpay for Vera Bradley. I love Vera Bradley. She has some really cute stuff. But in terms of the resale value versus the retail value, it's not good. And some stuff just translates that way. Like I feel like Vince Camuto is another brand, and like Betsey Johnson. Some stuff that's Betsey Johnson will sell really well. Other stuff just doesn't, because you can get that at like TJ Maxx now. The next thing I want to talk about are jackets and blazers, especially right now, because we're kind of in this transition phase where we're going into fall and winter, but it's still really hot outside. So like I've been going through the coats every time I go to Goodwill because nobody else is even looking at the coats. This is how I managed to find a Burberry coat at Goodwill because nobody else was even looking at them and it was just sitting there. So I definitely encourage you to check your blazers and your jackets and your coats right now. Those are the types of items that are going to get you really good profits. And here the cost on those is about like $5 or $6. Will Posh Fest have any wholesale suppliers or made in the US suppliers? I think they will. Last year they had a few different suppliers there from their wholesale market. Like all the people who were there for you to buy stuff from were from the wholesale market. I'm not sure about the made in the US part. I would hope they're made in the US, but I'm not quite sure about that part. But they will definitely, they had an entire room last year that you could walk through of suppliers and vendors and stuff. Yeah, definitely be checking out the coats and jackets section before other people get to it. And then I want you to be sourcing kind of what I call cheap items. So this is going to depend on your thrift store, but at my thrift stores, they sell things like bras and t-shirts for like $2 a piece. So those are things that you can buy low cost and sell for 25 to 30 bucks depending on what it is. So that's going to depend on your thrift store and what you're able to find. But figure out what they sell for super cheap and, source those items. Especially if you can find cheap home decor items, especially handmade items, things like that. My thrift stores will usually sell stuff like that for 99 cents. So you can absolutely pick that up and add it as part of the home market. We remove things from our closets that have been sitting a while rather than do the $5 sales and maybe relist a lot later. Sorry, the chat moved and I lost the question. Okay. You don't want to focus too much on removing stuff. Like, if you buy something and it doesn't sell right away, it doesn't mean that it won't sell later. So if you have stuff that you're just sick of or you think they were bad buys, you can remove them. You could sell them in like a mystery box. Whereas, if you have enough to separate them by size, like if you have 5 size medium tops, you could put size medium tops mystery box and sell them in a lot that way. What are best blazers to source? I like J. Crew blazers. J. Crew has a really loyal following and their stuff is very expensive. J. Crew, Madewell, Cabby, Calvin Klein, White House Black Market has some gorgeous blazers. If you find one, they're usually tweed or super patterned. Chico's is another brand. Chico's and Talbot's blazers. Chico's and Talbot stuff is very expensive. So I will be picky, but I will pick it up, especially if it's new with tags. But really, if you find a really good blazer in great condition, you can usually get 25 to 30 bucks for blazers. Since Forever 21 is going out of business, would you suggest grabbing that while thrifting? If you can get it super cheap, depending on what it is, if it's something like a jacket or not so much their jeans, but they've done collections, like they had the U.S. Postal Service collection, the Cheetos collection, weird things like that, I would pick up if they're in good condition. Now, you have to remember, Forever 21 is what they call fast fashion, and it's very cheaply made. So if it's used and it's been washed, it's usually not in good condition after 1 to 2 washes. So just be very careful. Bras new. I will buy bras used if they are name brand and in good condition. So I usually pick up Victoria's Secret, Lululemon. Lane Bryant has a brand, like their lingerie brand is called Cacique. It's like plus size. So I usually pick up that if I find it. Bigger sizes tend to do better. So, they don't necessarily have to be new, but you need to be very picky about the condition they are in, because you can find bras in great condition that don't have the tags on them, but they look brand new. How long do you let something sit before you just get rid of it? I don't really have a set time. If I notice that I've had something for a really long time and it starts to bug me, then I'll get rid of it. Sydney, I bought Nike and Under Armour t-shirts, very cheap, new with tag. Sadly disappointed that I ended up not selling for very high. So with Nike and Under Armour, I've done better with hoodies, shorts, tennis skirts are something that will sell very consistently for me. So if I find, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, tennis skirts usually sell pretty consistently. The t-shirts are hard because the retail prices on them are not very high. And people know that they can really find them anywhere. But on things like tennis skirts and pants and things like that, the retail prices are higher. So they're looking more for those items used. Like the other day, I had a girl who was looking for a tennis skirt for school. So she was asking me a lot of questions about the color and stuff. But, people have to have tennis skirts for if they play tennis. They have to have things like that. They don't necessarily have to have a t-shirt. My daughter makes a living selling new and used bras. Yeah, bras will sell, new or used. If they're in good condition, pick them up. Do Talbot skirts sell? I have a few of them I got for 50. If you got them for 50 cents a piece, I would definitely try listing them. Skirts, other than tennis skirts, are sort of hit or miss for me. Skirts have been gaining a little bit more popularity lately. If you have my summer sourcing guide, I talk about the skirts that have the buttons going down. Those are really popular right now, and I see a lot of vintage ones out there. So if you see the skirts with the buttons going down the middle, definitely pick those up. Sports or lingerie bras, both. Absolutely both, because I find them super cheap, so I try to pick them up. You have a lot of Chico's. Folks love the shopping options, a lot to choose from. Yeah, Chico's has a pretty great following, and Chico's is very expensive retail. I need followers that actually want to buy. I have a lot that like to jump in my closet and share 50 things. Okay, so your followers don't necessarily translate to buyers. A lot of buyers don't necessarily follow people until they buy from them. So don't worry about what your followers are doing. You want people to share your stuff. If somebody shared the same top 63 times, that means she has a bot on her account. So just, if you want to, you can block them. Most of my large size sports bras sell quickly. They need to be like new. Yes, absolutely. You have an item that the size doesn't match the measurements. What do you list it as, since people filter by size? You need to list it as the size that's on the tag, regardless of what the measurements are. So it's not your responsibility to figure out what the true size of something is, the true size. There's no such thing as a true size of something. You need to list it as the size that's on the tag and provide measurements. And that is your only responsibility as a seller. It is the buyer's responsibility to look at the size and to look at the measurements. If they buy it without looking at those things, that's on them. 90% of my buyers have no closet and don't sell, just buy out of nowhere. Yes, absolutely. People who are just there to buy, they don't follow people, they don't list stuff, most of them. They just are there to shop. Should I stop trying to get a lot of likers than price dropping to give them cheaper shipping? We're going to talk about this more in the actual pricing section of this webinar, but I have almost stopped doing closet clear out, and I can go ahead and talk about this, and then we can talk about this later as well. But closet clear out, when I first started in 2014, was our only way of offering discounted shipping to buyers. And they did not do closet clear out as often as they do it now. They would only do it really on holiday weekends when sales tended to be slower. I mean, I know months and months and months would go by before we would have a closet clear out. But that was our only way to sell things with discounted shipping. Then once they introduced the offer to likers feature, it was a complete game changer. Because it allows you to send direct offers to people rather than dropping your price publicly and having to relist it if nobody buys it. And I have almost stopped doing closet clear out. If I have something that's been sitting and I feel the need to, I'll drop the price publicly. But 99% of my sales come from offer to likers. So I highly recommend just sticking with offer to likers. I know Poshmark covers the shipping discount in closet clear out, but it is not worth having to drop the prices on 100 items in your closet and then have to go through and figure out what items you've dropped prices on and relist these things. It's not worth it to save $1.80 because you should be pricing your stuff high enough to compensate for that anyway. So it's not really going to matter if you're covering the shipping or if Poshmark is covering the shipping. Excuse me. Somehow I thought the more followers, the more sales. Not necessarily. Your sales depend on your items. So that's what we're talking about tonight is you have to have items that people want to buy. You could have 120,000 followers, and if you don't have items in your closet that people want to buy, nobody's going to buy them. So your followers don't necessarily translate to sales if you don't have the right items in your closet. New posture here, do you have a video for beginners? Check out all the videos on my YouTube channel. You'll have to scroll down, but I have a lot of Poshmark videos that are great for beginners. Doesn't really have to do with sourcing. Since you have sold on Poshmark for so long, is there really a Q4 increase like others selling? Yes. During Q4, people save up all year for this time of year, for Christmas shopping, for holiday shopping. People save all year for this, and they are ready to spend money. And people love going on places like Poshmark because they can find unique things for Christmas that they can't really find anywhere else. If you state as exact measurements, a buyer can challenge you if they file a complaint. So in your descriptions, you can put that measurements are approximate. Like, just put like for tops and dresses, I'll do armpit to armpit and length. And you can put a disclaimer that says measurements are approximate and taken with garment laying flat. If you want to put a picture of the tape measure in your listings, that's fine. But I also try to put the measurements in the description because sometimes the pictures of the tape measures are a little confusing and it's really hard to tell. Like I see a lot of people do pictures with tape measures and it's literally just a close-up of the tape measure and you can't tell if it's measuring the waist. You can't tell if it's measuring the rise on a pair of jeans. You can't really tell what it is. So I highly recommend putting numbers for measurements in your listing. Also, customers, for lack of a better word, are lazy and they don't like to look at things in pictures and try to figure out what it means. So you can absolutely put numbers in your descriptions and say measurements are approximate and taken with garment laying flat. And, you have done your part to provide measurements to the customer. Let's see, back to my notes. Okay, my next point is I want you to look for things that people can bundle, like accessories, scarves, jewelry, ties. A lot of these things you can find at the Goodwill outlet by the pound and just throw in your cart. And that way you want to really concentrate on items where customers don't have to worry about the size of something, because then they're going to be more likely to bundle if you have a lot of accessories in there that, they're not worrying about the size on it. They can just add it to their outfit that they're buying from you. I post size and material tags and then arm length, etc. Yeah. Definitely post the size tags because that is your only proof of what the size of the item is. And you will have people who try to say that you sent them the wrong size. And the only proof you have of the size of the item is to include a photo of the tag in your item. Okay, so now we are going to go into where you need to be sourcing things. As Lori just asked, where else can you source from? Obviously, the first place is going to be thrift stores. So you want to check out Goodwill, Salvation Army. You really want to check out your local thrift stores. A lot of times you will find cheaper items at your local thrift stores because they're not ran by corporate offices. They're not controlled by corporations who are setting pricing. So if they want to make their stuff half off, they can do that. If they want to have dollar sales, they can do that. These are the stores who are going to be more likely to have fill a bag sales where you can get stuff for super cheap. So you definitely want to support your local thrift stores as well as supporting Goodwill. Don't get me wrong, I love Goodwill. I find a ton of stuff at Goodwill. But I also try to go to my local stores too, just to support them. Next, you want to go to the Goodwill outlet. And I know the Goodwill outlet kind of scares people. The first time I ever went to a Goodwill outlet, it kind of scared me as well. Because the first time I ever went to a Goodwill outlet, it was in Columbia. I was in college. And their Goodwill outlet, before they rebuilt it, was pretty terrible. It was in this really old building. It smelled terrible. It was gross. It was just not a clean place to go. But they have since rebuilt it into a beautiful new building with way more stuff than they ever had at the other one. So I went back eventually. After the first time, I was kind of traumatized. But, and it's going to depend on your area. Like the Goodwill outlet in Charlotte is beautiful. It is clean. They have all their shoes are up on shelves. All their books are up on shelves. All their DVDs and stuff are up on shelves. They're not just thrown into the bins. And the store overall is much cleaner than any Goodwill outlet I've ever seen. But you want to kind of learn the stores that are local to you. And our Goodwill outlet also does half off sales. They'll have certain times where the whole store is half off. So it's like 65 cents a pound or something. So you definitely want to learn when that happens, if your Goodwill outlet does that. And you also want to ask them when they restock. So my Goodwill outlet is really good about bringing out new things throughout the day, except on Sundays. The guys in the back don't work on Sundays, so they don't restock on Sundays. So you definitely want to figure out and weigh your options because, it's half off on Sunday, but they don't restock on Sunday. So a lot of it is very picked over. So is it worth it to go to half off day? Or is it worth it to go and pay, $1 or something a pound and not have picked over stuff? So I try to do both because I can definitely find stuff at both. Kimberly says, bundling is a great idea. What about people who say don't make your closet a garage sale? You do not want to make your closet a garage sale at all. I don't like to have anything priced under $15, and then pricing something at $15 is low for me. So the exception to that is going to be your accessories and your things like that. But you don't want to price them so low to where the price makes them look like junk. So the idea for that is you want to have this stuff in your closet and maybe price it at $15 to $20. And then offer a bundle discount, or you see somebody bundling some things, you can share to their bundle. If you have something that you think would go with that, and then offer them a discount. No outlet by me. I'd have to travel and can't at the moment. I completely understand that. The closest Goodwill outlet to me is over an hour away. So I don't go there too often. I try to go over there once or twice a month, but for the most part, I stick to retail because I don't have to drive so far to get to the retail stores. I think what I meant is curated, like getting a number of things in a number of categories. Yeah, I mean, obviously the more stuff that you have that are like accessories, the more opportunities people are going to have to bundle. So you definitely want to, there's not really a way to plan it like intentionally, but you want to be aware of how much stuff you have in certain categories. So if you notice yourself sourcing a ton of jeans, maybe don't look at the jeans so much that day or don't buy so many jeans that day and try to go over to the dresses or try to go over to the jackets. Or if you are mostly selling women's stuff, try to start venturing over into the menswear. Menswear is something that I knew nothing about. And then I gradually started watching videos and learning brands and looking at the menswear. And I started finding a lot of amazing things. The men's stuff is usually in much better condition than the women's stuff as well. Is Salvation Army worth the trip? I'm out in Vegas. Randy, we went to Savers while we were in Vegas, and Savers was pretty amazing. So if you can get to Savers, I would probably go there. That's where we went, and it was really, really awesome. How do you bundle items to send someone not sure how to do it? Do you mean how do you share items to a person to make a bundle for them? Bundle button and send offer. I also do a bundle discount, which is a feature. Yeah, you can definitely offer a bundle discount, or you can do it manually whenever someone bundles something. I have a lot of different things in my closet, home goods, jewelry, etc. Yes, the home market is also a great way to encourage bundles if you can find cheap home goods. Like they sell coffee mugs here for like 50 cents a piece. So if you can pick up cheap little things like that people would like, absolutely get them. Yes, Randy, go on half off day. That's when we went and it was amazing. Let's see. But yeah, absolutely. If you can go to the Goodwill outlet, even if you can just go once a month, it is completely worth it for the margins that you can get on things. And you really want to plan to go for at least half a day, if not the whole day, and just be there all day when they keep bringing out new stuff and stock up. Like that's how you stock up on stuff. A lot of people order things in bulk. Personally, I prefer to go to places like the Goodwill outlet because then it's like buying bulk, but I'm cherry picking stuff. So I'm not getting a ton of stuff. When I first started, I would go to this thrift store and they would sell huge bags of clothes for like $2 and I would buy them all. And, half of it I would have to throw out and that took a lot of time to go through. So at least if I'm going to the Goodwill outlet, I'm cherry picking stuff and I'm not having to necessarily throw as much stuff away. Okay, so I want to talk about places like Plato's Closet and Style Encore. There's another one we have called Clothes Mentor. But these places will do amazing clearance sales. And I highly recommend that you find your local ones and follow them on social media, sign up to their email list, get their emails, because that's how they send out their sales. And you need to know when they are having these clearance sales because they mark stuff 50% off, 70% off, and 90% off. Ours has done 90% off. They've also done fill a bag sales where you can bring your own bag and then everything in the bag is 90% off. And you can bring like an IKEA bag. You think it is wise to have a closet focus or all random stuff, such as only clothing or only? I don't think it's ever a good idea to limit yourself to only one thing. You need a good variety of stuff in your closet. You need as many brands as possible that you can get in your closet, because that is what is going to attract customers to your Poshmark closet. That's how you get exposure for your closet, is having as many items in different brands and as many items in as many different markets as possible. So bad at picking clothes out, I have better luck with hard goods. So, slowly venture into the clothing. You don't have to overwhelm yourself with it, but start just kind of getting used to looking at clothing and buy a couple things here, a couple things there. What's a legit reason to have a second closet? And do you name it the same? So back before Poshmark introduced the markets feature, they did roll out the men's and kids where you could sell men's and kids stuff. And so everybody just had, and they also had boutique, which was ultimately the first market that they ever had. So when they rolled out this boutique feature, the closets who were boutique only had their own little page and were featured on this boutique page. And so you had a closet for women's and a closet for boutique and a closet for men's and a closet for kids, and people separated it, and that's just what they did. Now that they have the markets feature, you don't really have to do that unless you just want to kind of separate your closet into different categories. Or if you wanted to have a closet that's just home goods and then a closet that's just clothing. But because they now have the markets feature, you don't necessarily have to have the second closet. But back then, that's just what people did. They separated it. What type of store is Plato's? So Plato's is kind of like a thrift store, but people can bring things there and you sell things to Plato's and then they pay you for it. So it's kind of like consignment, but they pay you immediately for your items. It's the same concept as what we do, except they have a brick and mortar store where people bring things to them and we have to go out and look for things. Do you think mixing men's brands with women's is good, and should I have a new closet? I don't think you need a new closet. I think you should just put everything in one closet because of the markets feature. Because you will have women who come on Poshmark shopping for their entire families, and if they're looking for stuff for their husband or for their son, and your men's stuff is in a different closet, they're not going to know about it. Bargain Hunt is another store to get emails from. I think there's a Bargain Hunt store in Greenville that I want to go to. I saw it, but I wasn't really sure what it was. I had men's and women's brands together, and men's clothes were not moving. I got a new men's closet to see how it goes. Do you think it was a good idea? If you had both of them together and one wasn't moving, you can definitely try separating them. It will definitely be an experiment. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just extra work for you. But I definitely don't think that it's necessarily a bad idea. So just, list some things, see how it goes. If not, you can always change it back. Is it better to group items in your closet, like dresses, hard goods, etc.? I like to mix it up. I like to have new arrivals at the top of my closet, and I like to show a good variety at the top of my closet. Just because if somebody clicks on your closet and you only have earrings at the very top of your closet, that person might think that you only sell earrings, so they're going to move on. So you want to have a good mix of stuff at the top of your closet. Style Encore near me has a bring your own bag sale this weekend. What is that? So the way our Plato's Closet did it, you can bring your own bag, and whatever you can fit into the bag, you get it for 90% off. So if you're going to do that, I recommend $35 for a bag is a lot. It's not necessarily a lot if you take a blue IKEA bag and stuff it to the brim with stuff. That could actually be a very good deal. If you can take your IKEA bag and stuff it full of jeans, that would be an amazing deal. Bargain Hunt reminds me of Ollie's and TJ Maxx Marshalls mix. Ours has items from food to name brand clothing. I actually really love Ollie's Bargain Outlet. Sometimes they'll have stuff. They said no IKEA bags. Then no, if it's just a regular, like one time ours did just regular, like grocery bags, the plastic bags, I wouldn't do it. But anyway, Ollie's Bargain Outlet has a lot of stuff that I get to use for business, like bread bags and lint rollers, and they have all kinds of stuff in there. If you have an Ollie's Bargain Outlet, definitely go check it out. It's a great store. Yeah, Plato's Closet is a great place when they have their 90% off sale. So Facebook Marketplace is another place I want to talk about. And I want you guys to be very, very careful sourcing things where you have to go meet people locally. I just want to put that out there. There's always a risk in doing this. Just, use your common sense and be safe about what you're doing. But one time I was on Facebook Marketplace and this girl had posted, she had 2 bags of clothes that she was getting rid of for free. It was 2 giant garbage bags and they were free. So I was like, okay. And so I contacted her and I went to go pick them up. When I got there, it was actually her dad owned her house and she had gotten married and moved away. And he was selling the house and trying to clear it out. And he gave me over $1,000 worth of inventory. It ended up being over $1,000 worth of stuff for free. Absolutely free. I loaded up as much as I could fit. I had my SUV at the time. Loaded up as much as I could fit in there. And, I had to go through it, and a lot of it I had to throw away. But it was a ton of profit for absolutely free. So definitely keep your eye on Facebook Marketplace. It's not going to be a place where you can find things, every day, but just keep an eye out for curb alerts and things like that. Other places you can think of to source are going to be, your TJ Maxx, your Ross, your Marshalls, when they're having clearance sales. One time I found a pair of Kate Spade shoes at Ross for like $12 because they had been marked down so many times. So you want to learn when they mark stuff down. You want to keep an eye out for the TJ Maxx and Marshalls yellow tag sales. Burlington is a really good place with their clearance stuff. Just try to check it regularly. Like I said, it's not places that you're going to find stuff every day. But when they have sales, they are great, great resources. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Does anybody have any questions on what we've covered so far? I'm glad so many of you guys are able to watch tonight. This is great. Okay, so the last point I want to talk about tonight is your cost of goods. Because your cost of goods is going to play a very significant role in how you price your items. So, like I was talking about earlier, I used to go to this local thrift store and they would sell things for $1 and I would just buy whatever they had because it was $1. So if it was in good condition, I would buy it because in my mind, I was like, oh, well, even if I sell it for $10, that's a profit. The problem is I was not necessarily buying things that other people wanted to buy, and listing $10 items was costing me a ton of time. I mean, I was spending so much time trying to list all these things that I bought for $1 and hoping to sell for $10 that I had no time to do anything else. And so one day they stopped doing their dollar sale, and I was really upset about it. But this forced me to go look at the rest of the thrift store and to go to Goodwill and go through the racks. And because of this, yes, I was having to pay more money for stuff. I went from having to pay $1 an item to $3.99 an item. But instead of paying $1 for something I could sell for $10, I started paying $3.99 for something that I could sell for $50, $60, $70. So in the time it was taking me to list 7 items that I might sell for $10 a piece, I could list 1 item that I could sell for $70. And then I'm spending less time listing stuff, making more money. I have time to do other things. And this is something that I really want you guys to grasp the concept of, because I was forced into this concept. But I'm really grateful that I was, because it helped me to learn to source better items. It helped me to learn Anthropologie brands, because I was watching all these videos. I was like, I never see Anthropologie things. It's because I wasn't looking for them. I was only looking on these dollar racks. I wasn't paying any attention to the rest of the thrift store. So then, once I started spending a little bit more money on better items, I started making exponentially more money, because I had better items that were worth more, and I had more time to list better things and to start branching into other streams of income. Let me see. Is it frowned upon if you drop prices in closet clear out too low, but you relist? No. If you've dropped things, if you have dropped things in price and you realize you've dropped it too low, there is never anything wrong with relisting it at a higher price. My friend Star, you guys probably know her from the Flippin' Hippos channel. She had this pair of Danskos that she had listed on eBay, and she accepted an offer that was way too low for them. Luckily, the person ended up canceling the order, and she showed it to me. And I was like, you need to list those for way more on Poshmark. And, I told her what to do, how to list them, things like that. The shoes ended up selling within a couple days on Poshmark for like $75. So more than double what she had sold them for on eBay. So if you feel like you have priced something too low, don't ever feel bad about making the price higher. Like, you should never feel guilty for that. We all make mistakes. We all make pricing mistakes. If you feel that something is worth more, absolutely relist it for a higher price. Don't ever feel guilty for wanting to sell things or for wanting to make money, because that's your job, is to sell things and to make money. It's not a bad thing to want to make money. Relisting is deleting, then listing again. So if you need to change the price on something, I recommend marking not for sale. Share all of your items to push it to the bottom, and then relist it. I've reshot, deleted, and brought back at higher price, sold, and got a 5-star rating. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. I have a lot of lower end stuff taking up space in my house. I think I may need to sell lots or pre-bundled mystery boxes like you mentioned. I've more moved into higher profit items recently. Yes, if you have enough items where you can divide them by size and put them into mystery boxes for people, definitely do that. There's a difference between doing mystery boxes that have no brands and then listing brands at $5 that drives down the market. But if you have a mystery box where nobody knows what the brands are that you're sending them, do like 5 for 25, or whatever you're comfortable doing. I know it is important to share, but it doesn't matter how big your closet is and what do you think about the list. Okay, so there seems to be this misconception that you have to have 3,000 items listed on Poshmark to be able to sell things. It's absolutely not true. You can have, 3,000 items listed on Poshmark. They're not items that people want to buy. You're not going to have any sales, even though you have 3,000 items. If you have 5 items listed on Poshmark and they're items that people want to buy, you're going to have 5 sales from your 5 items. So don't be concerned with how many listings you have. I recommend listing 5 items a day just because that's what I've seen the best results from. That's when I start to see activity starting to happen, is when I list 5 items and then, my newsfeed starts going crazy. Relisting is editing. So relisting is when you actually make a new listing for the item, a complete new listing. If you just edit the price, say you've priced something at $20 and closet clear out happens and you drop the price to $18. So if you go back in and you raise your price back up to $20 without relisting it, the next time you try to price drop or send an offer to somebody, you're going to have to send it as $16, not as 10% off the 20. It's got to be off of the lowest historical price. How do you cover your butt with the mystery boxes? How do you list it? Final sale, no returns. Poshmark actually has a policy on mystery boxes. And I'm going to pull it up so that I can read exactly what it says. Let's see. Community guidelines. Bundles and mystery boxes. The only thing better than selling something is selling multiple things. For this reason, we encourage Poshers to make use of bundling to make more money as sellers and save more as buyers. The purchase of mystery boxes are also permitted at the buyer's own risk. We encourage Poshers to ask any questions they have before purchasing this type of listing. So all you have to do is say you're selling mystery box. Like, that's all you have to do. If it's a mystery box and somebody purchases it, it's at their own risk. So Poshmark actually has a policy on mystery boxes. If you have a mystery box now, please don't send people like stuff with holes in it, or, we all make mistakes. So if something happens, that's one thing. But try to be very honest about what's going to be in the box. Like, you have size medium tops. You need to put these are size medium tops. You might want to put like their mall brands or sample brands of what is going to be in them. They'll be more likely to sell that way. I want to relist several things at a higher price. I delete the current listing, then just take new pics and list it again. Okay, so at PoshFest last year, I sat in on a panel with the lady who was in charge of data and analytics at Poshmark, and she told us not to delete things. And she didn't really go into specifics about this, but what I kind of got from it is that it negatively affects her data, her reports and stuff. So if it is negatively affecting her reports, it's probably negatively going to affect your algorithm, because Poshmark does not want you to delete stuff. So that is why I recommend mark the listing not for sale, do a full closet share so it pushes it to the bottom, and then just make a new listing as if you had never listed the item before. That way it resets the price. Your other listing is pushed way down there to where people probably won't see it. And then just make a new listing. Let's see, back to my notes. Okay, so anyway, once I started buying better quality items instead of just dollar items, my entire business changed. And that is when I realized I didn't have to sell $10 items. I didn't have to live my life trying to list 50 things a day at $10 a piece. If you really take your time and start sourcing items, especially from the categories that I mentioned tonight, these high profit categories, and I'm not necessarily talking about specific brands, I'm talking about categories of items that will just naturally pull in higher profits for you. That will take your bread and butter price from $10 up to like $25. People will pay $25 for a good pair of jeans or a good blazer or a good pair of shoes, and you have access to these items. It is worth paying a little bit more money for them and being able to list less items and make more money, if that makes sense. What if I edit the item into another one, like replacing an item with another by editing? So you don't want to do that if you have to edit the price, because if you go in and change the price, it won't reset the price. So if you have something at $20 and you mark it down to 10, and then you go back and you try to mark it back up to $20, if you want to send out an offer to likers or do a closet clear out price drop, you would have to mark that item down to $9 to get it to trigger. And then if you were doing that for closet clear out, it's not going to trigger the closet clear out because then the price is then below $10. So if you need to change prices, you need to make a new listing. If you don't need to change the price, then yeah, you can just change the photos and the title and things like that. But if you need to change the price, you need to make a new listing. Instead of deleting a top, replace it with another one, and the top I want is gone. Yeah, you can do that. It'll probably rank better if you make a complete new listing for it, though. And then it will only let you change the brand on something so many times. So you don't really want to do that too often. I worked on my closet for several hours, adjusting prices like you suggested. Good. Because when you, and we're going to talk more about this as we go on in the next couple weeks, but if you price things super, super low, that gives the opinion to the customer that you're selling stuff that isn't worth anything, that you're selling junk, that you're not a serious seller, and you want to present yourself as if you are a serious seller and as if you're running a business. And it sounds crazy, but once you raise your prices, you will start to attract the customers who are looking for quality clothing at a discounted price, and not the customers who are looking for something for as close to free that they can get. You don't want the people who are looking for $5 stuff. You want the people who are willing to pay you a reasonable price for a quality item. Like, I usually sell Tommy Bahama shirts for around $50. And I've had a lot of people tell me that they usually get $20 for a Tommy Bahama shirt. The reason I can sell them for $50 is because I'm pricing them high. And so these shirts retail for $125 and up. So the people who are usually going into Tommy Bahama and paying $125 or more for a shirt are more than happy to pay $50 for that shirt. If I've taken clear photos of it, if I've portrayed it accurately, they are going to pay that much, because normally they would pay $125 for it. So you have to really think about the audience that you want to attract into your closet, and you do that by your pricing. Let's see. Does anybody else have any questions But more on your cost of goods, you can get your bread and butter items from the Goodwill outlet. If you have a Goodwill outlet, you can go to Salvation Army half off days. You can go to Goodwill half off if your Goodwill does half off sales. My Goodwills here do not do sales. I have to drive about an hour to find Goodwills that will do half off sales, but you need to learn the sales from the thrift stores that you have to source from. Another great place that is becoming a really good option to find inventory is ThredUp. Excuse me. The ThredUp sells rescue boxes, and I'm planning on ordering one of these in the next week or so to do a video on. But I've heard really good things about their jeans rescue boxes. So, if you are looking for a low cost option for inventory, that might be something you want to look into. I'm attracting the trailer park than most times. I need to put my closet under construction and look at things really good. And don't be afraid to do that. Like, don't be afraid to relist items. Sorry, the chat is moving and I lost the question. Don't be afraid to relist items at higher prices. Don't be afraid to redo your photos if you feel like you need to. This is your business. So if you want to redo stuff, don't feel bad for wanting to redo stuff. What is a fair offer or a lowball offer? How much is too much? For example, I'm selling $75 shoes new. So if you have a pair of shoes that retails for $75, is that what you're asking? They retail for $75 and then you're asking how to price them? I'm always afraid I'm not selling because my prices are too high and no one looks. So I lower it. Okay, so you kind of have to stop yourself from doing that as well. There will be people who will look at your items. Just because something doesn't sell overnight doesn't mean it's not going to sell. So, and then if you feel truly like you have priced it way too high, then you can drop it like $10 or so and see if something happens. Do items marked not for sale show up when folks search for items? No. Available items show up when people search for items. I'm redoing items here and there. It's going to take me a while. And, that's okay. Just focus on doing a few a day. But you also need to be focusing on adding new inventory to your closet. I feel like a lot of people get really wrapped up in their older inventory where you need to be focused on adding new inventory. That needs to be your main focus. If you just started out and you bought stuff that you're kind of second guessing yourself on, that's okay. You have just started out and you're getting used to sourcing stuff, that's perfectly okay. But you need to focus more on adding new inventory. Lori says, can you source online? Yes. So that's what I was talking about with the ThredUp rescue boxes. You'll also find people on Poshmark and Mercari who are just like selling out their closets who just don't want stuff. Definitely check out and see if you can find closets. You mainly want to find closets where you can bundle multiple items. Like, you don't want to be paying the $6.79 shipping on individual things because that'll drive your cost of goods up. But if you can find a closet where you can bundle several things and you can tell they're in really good condition, definitely do that. So the shoes retailed higher than $75 and you listed them at $75, Tara? Because if you know what the retail price was and you listed them at 50% of the retail price, that's perfectly fine. Because you can send out offer to likers. The more important thing is, what was your cost of goods on them? Like, how much did you pay for them? Is it okay to remove items that will not sell for higher, such as shorts, tank tops? Yes. Or you can mark them not for sale. So something that you can do is, our Goodwills here, if you take stuff to donate to them, they'll give you like a 10% off coupon, and then that's a tax write-off for you. So if you have items that you think are not going to sell or just aren't getting much activity and they've been on there for a while, you can take those items and you can donate them and see if your thrift store gives coupons. Now, if I were going to do this, I would not take them to a Goodwill that I regularly shop at. I would take them to one that I don't really go to and get the coupon from them, then go use the coupon at the Goodwills that I do shop at. I try not to donate stuff to thrift stores that I regularly shop at, because then I'm going back through stuff that I've already donated, and it costs you time. Is it a good idea to list items by season? For example, you would want to list fall, winter items now and spring, summer. So I list everything all the time. For example, I've sold an $80 UGG poncho. I think it was 80. It might have been a little bit less. I can't remember the exact price, but it was a good bit. I sold an UGG poncho, full fleece poncho, in the middle of July. So you never know what people are shopping for, why. I have a friend who went to England. It was freezing cold over there like a couple months ago. So, people go on vacations elsewhere and need different season clothing. This is why Target carries bathing suits year round. It's because people vacation. I used to work for J. Crew. Right after Christmas, they would release what they call their resort collection. And it's because so many people go on vacation that time of year and need warm weather clothes. So don't worry so much about seasons. Obviously, you are going to start selling more cold weather items here shortly, but I list everything all the time. If I find something good, like that UGG poncho, I could have not listed it until November, but I listed it and somebody bought it in the middle of July. So you never know what people need or why. So you bought them for $20 and listed for $75. Retail is currently at $150. If you pay $20 for them and retail is at $150, I would probably redo it and list them for $100 or $125 so that you can send out offers. $20 is kind of high. Can I ask what they are, like what the brand is? And what the style of shoe is? But yeah, definitely list your seasonal items year round, because you just never know what people are going to buy. Especially things like jackets, like blazers. Women who work in offices, air conditioned offices, buy jackets and sweaters year round to wear in offices. So, those will sell year round as well. How do you find retail on your things? I've looked for some retail prices and they never come up for me. I usually go to the manufacturer's website. If I can't find it on there, I will find something similar and, just try to compare it to that. Like if I find a pair of J. Crew shoes and they're from 2 years ago, but I can go on J. Crew's website and find a similar style and get a ballpark of what their shoes retail for, then you can kind of just average out the retail price and derive your retail price from that. It might not be the exact retail price that they were, but you can get a ballpark estimate of what the retail price was. Joan and David, Patent Heel with Platform. I'm going to look up this brand. I'm not really familiar with this brand, so I'm going to look it up. And I just type in brands into Google. So yeah, the second listing that comes up is a pair of pumps listed on Poshmark for $98. So I would probably redo the listing and relist them at least at $100. You also need to look at, see if you can find them on the website, if they are still available on the website. Something I have done before, one time I found a pair of Land's End swim trunks for women, and I went on the website to see what they retail for, and they were sold out on the website. So I pretty much priced them at retail price, and they sold for maybe $5 under the retail price. But because they were sold out, I priced them close to retail because you couldn't get them anywhere else. How do you handle items with no tag or shoes with no size but are in great condition? I'm gonna be honest, most of the time, if I find something with no tag or no size, I leave it unless it is designer. Like if it's Tory Burch or that price range or above, then I will try to figure it out. But shoes especially are very difficult to figure out the size. Something you can do is go to like a dollar store and get the cheap shoe inserts that you have to cut to size. It will it'll have the sizes marked on the shoe inserts. So then you put that in the shoe and use that to size the shoe. Prices range. I didn't. I dropped them because I panicked. Don't ever panic about pricing things. Go with your gut. If your gut tells you to price high, there's no problem with pricing it at $100 and see what happens. You start getting likers on it, then you can send out offers and give them 10 to 20 bucks off, and they're gonna like that because it looks like you're giving them a good discount. Given to me in a huge lot from a friend, 3 bags of clothes. Should I do a not for sale? Yes. So mark them not for sale, share them to the bottom, and then relist them. You can delete like 1 to 2 things a day. Just try to avoid deleting mass amounts of things at one time. So if you have stuff you want to delete like 1 here, 1 there. I don't think that's going to cause too many negative effects on your closet. Just don't go through your closet and delete like 10 to 20 items at a time. Yeah, definitely. If you have a good pair of shoes that you feel like you can get a good bit for, it would be worth the time to try and size them. And then you can also check and look up the shoes on Poshmark and eBay and see if anybody's provided like heel to toe measurements and see if like if you can match them to see if you can kind of figure out what the size is. And don't stress too much about like deleting and relisting. Like don't stress too much about that. What you need to be worrying about is adding new stuff. You need to try to be adding like 5 new things a day, ideally. And I know it takes a while to get to that point because you have to build up inventory, but that needs to be like your first goal. And then you can build up to 10 items a day and then 20 items a day. Because the more new things you list, the more brands you can get in your closet, the more markets you can cover, the more sales you're going to get. All right, so we have been going for almost 2 hours now, which has been amazing because I wanted to kind of supply you guys with as much information on sourcing as possible. I wanted to give you very real information. I wanted to give you information that seems achievable. You know, I didn't want to come on here and be unrealistic with you guys. I want you to feel like what you're doing is achievable. I want you to get more confident about what you're doing. I want you to get more confident about being able to source things. And, you know, with me telling you general categories that you can source things in, that's going to be much easier for you to grasp than if I come on here and try to tell you 1,000 brands to look for. Like, the categories that I've given you tonight are items that usually sell for good profit margins for me. And this has been, you know, 5 years of trial and error trying to figure out what will sell. Because when I first started selling, like, I didn't even have a car when I first started really trying to resell stuff. And I had to kind of work with things around my house. And I would spend a ton of time doing like flat lays and trying to merchandise stuff and make it sell. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to go into how to create your listings and how to add perceived value to your listings. And, you know, we're going to talk about photography. We're going to talk about merchandising. We're going to talk about flat lays versus mannequins versus hangers. You know, all this information that you need to really add value to your listings, because that's kind of what occurred to me when I wanted to make this webinar. And I started thinking about pricing, but how you list things is greatly going to affect what you're able to get for your listings. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. If you would like to watch again tomorrow, we're going to be doing, it's going to be the same outline tomorrow, but probably different people are going to be watching, and there could be some different questions. So it could potentially be different information just based on the questions that people ask. So you're more than welcome to come back tomorrow night. If you have the time, it will be at the same time. And the link to tomorrow night's webinar is also in the PDF that you sent. Heidi says, after your last few videos, I raised all my prices, raised my closet to a higher level, and got 2 great sales right away at much better profit. Yes. So when you raise your prices, you are adding perceived value to your inventory. When you lower prices, that is attracting kind of that garage sale mindset customer. So we're going to go through way more of this in the next 2 parts to this training. But can we watch later? Yes, you will always have these replays. So you can always rewatch it. You can watch tomorrow night's. Yes, if you guys want to hit the like button, that would be nice. But you will always have access to this. Alrighty. I couldn't find the Facebook group via the link. Terry, you can search for Posh Boss Mentor, and then it should come up. It's not like a secret group or anything. I can't make it a secret group, but you should be able to pull it up through the search if the link's not pulling it up. Alrighty, guys. The Facebook group. I'm going to put this in the comments. So if you purchased the special that included the Facebook group, the link should work, but this is the Facebook group. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for your comments and your comments on my videos and in the group and your support and positivity. And I'm just really glad to be able to do this. I'm glad that so many of you were able to come and ask questions, and I could talk with you kind of not in person, but kind of in person. But I'm going to go ahead and end here. And like I said, you're welcome to come back tomorrow night, ask more questions, listen in. I'd love to have you. But I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you in the next one. Let me end this. Bye, guys.